most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Hi, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
And Brad Heineck, physical
Together
therapist.
we are the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course.
Today we're going to talk about how to improve and reverse memory loss. It's science-based. We got some home remedies, and that includes, we're talking about dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right, a lot of cognitive issues. It kind of covers a broad spectrum, Bob. And I really like the book, and it really follows along with a lot of our previous thoughts that as we've educated ourselves more and more on this over the years.
Yeah, we're not experts in these fields, but we can read people that are experts.
We work with a lot of people with these problems in the therapy.
Right, in the therapy world.
Right, exactly.
By the way, if you're new to our channel, please take a second to subscribe to us. We provide videos how to stay healthy, fit, pain-free, and we upload every day. Also, if you get a chance, go to bobandbrad.com. I'm keeping talking to you, Brad.
Yeah, you're doing good.
And go to the giveaway section because this week we're giving away a couple balance pads. These are fantastic. Pete's Choice. And by the way, you can also use them to sit on them.
Yeah, they're great you can use them to put in your patio chair. It keeps your bottom comfortable and warm.
And kneel on them.
Kneel on them really works well if you're going to do something out in the garden or even in the house on the floor. So they're multiple use and they're great. Oh, got to get this back. Sorry, Bob.
Go to Bob and Brad also on Facebook. The contest will be pinned to the top of the page. You can join it there. Go to Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok if you want a 60-second version of our program.
Yeah, because that long took almost 90 seconds.
Now
we'll get complaints about that.
Than you.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
I'll get back down.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So, as we mentioned, Bob and I, any therapist typically has worked quite a bit with people with cognitive issues. And we joke around now that we're nearing 60 years old. Our memory is
not what it used to be.
Exactly. So how do you keep that memory going for yourself, your grandmother, whoever it may be? Because it's oftentimes associated with aging.
Right.
Very, very common.
Give yourself as much of a chance as you can. That's what I say.
So we're going to give you some good options that you can do at home. A lot of it is diet, but not all of it. We got 5 good options and a few things you want to avoid. So tune in, and we're going to go right now.
All right. Let's go.
So the information I got, science-based, is by this book called Diet for the Mind by Dr. Clare Morris. And she's done a lot of great research and she's been involved with it. This is her passion. You can tell she's really involved with it. I'm not going to cite all the research she did because there's too much to recite. So,
extensive.
Right. If you want to get the book and read it, go ahead. I've got my page numbers marked where I had some really highlights that I wanted to bring up to people.
I do the same thing.
There you go. So that's the book, the reference, as well as our wonderful input. Number 1, and these aren't necessarily in order, but number 1, proper sleep. If you can sleep on a regular routine. Bob, you read a whole book on this?
I read a whole book on this, How We Sleep or Why We Sleep, by Matthew Walker.
The memory thing.
Yeah, the memory thing. But he went into this in great detail, can have a devastating effect on your memory. And he also mentioned as 2 examples, Brad, Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. Both ended up with Alzheimer's, but also both of them were noted for getting by on very little sleep.
Sure. Yeah.
So what he goes, maybe it was a coincidence, maybe not, but it's just not if anybody thinks they can get by on 4 or 5 hours sleep on a regular basis, they're kidding themselves.
It's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
The next one, and obviously as therapists, we're going to full-heartedly promote this, is consistent exercise.
And I've seen that again and again, that it has an effect on memory loss and dementia, and that it has a positive effect.
Right. As a matter of fact, right now with this COVID-19, my mother is in her room, and they want her in her room because she don't want her to I've noticed in the last week and a half, she didn't take her pills right this time. And she always does. And so I'm concerned about
she's getting no stimulus, she's getting no exercise.
Exactly. The number 3, so get your exercise. It doesn't have to be aggressive exercise, just a nice walk.
Ongoing exercise.
And outside better than indoors, assuming the weather's appropriate.
Right.
So a nice walk. You don't have to be aggressive and
In
get hurt.
nature is better than urban.
That's a good point too.
Right.
We read a study on
Oh,
that
yeah,
in the last
right.
couple of years as well. So out in a nice peaceful area, flowers growing, etc. It all makes sense. The next one is learn to relax. There's options, meditation, or just sitting in a quiet area and think about your breathing
Breathing is huge.
purposely,
Yeah.
not just, but actually slowing it down.
We've got some videos on breathing technique. There's
Mhm.
4-4-4, there's 4-7-8. I mean, there's all these different techniques.
Right.
And they work really well on taking your breath from being shallow
Mhm.
to extending it out and taking it, and which relaxes you, less stress, less cognitive issues.
Right. So get yourself in a quiet area with good posture. I'll just briefly go through. Make sure you breathe in through your nose. Let your abdomen extend out so you're not all tight. There you go. And Bob, then you exhale. If you just do it in a slow manner in and a slow controlled manner out while you're relaxed, it's going to help. And again, we have some videos specifically how to go over that.
And it's going to help with all portions of your life,
Right.
not just the memory loss things.
Exactly. The next thing, now this is big. She really goes into food and diet. Obviously, it's the name of the book. But we'll go through there's a list we'll go through. Number one, not necessarily the most important, but it was up on her list.
These are good foods, by the way.
Yes.
What Brad's alluding to.
Leafy greens.
Leafy greens are huge.
Right. And fresh is better than frozen, she recommends.
Interesting.
So we're talking about, spinach. Bob, you know this better than I do.
Spinach and little spinach.
That's all you eat, isn't it?
That's all I eat.
But usually darker green is better.
Well, kale.
Yeah, kale.
I don't eat kale usually.
No, the iceberg lettuce, the
sure.
round ball lettuce.
Right, not as good.
Yeah,
either.
you're not going to get
dark leafy greens are better.
Exactly.
The dark greens are better.
And we prefer organic. It's pretty easy to get organic leafy greens nowadays in the grocery store. Well, maybe not now, but
it is a little tougher right now.
Right. But typically on a normal thing, that's easy. Vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, yams, and potatoes are getting a bad rap. And we've read this over the years, or over the last couple of years. And, I grew up on potatoes, and so did my mother. And she's relatively, So I don't know if it's the potato itself. It's the fact of how they raise potatoes, because
what you put on the potatoes quite often.
Oh, right. But anyways, she was not a big potato person. And then nutrient dense whole grains. Right.
And that's the trouble, is that a lot of the food manufacturers will try to trick you.
Sure.
They'll say it's whole grains, and you read on the ingredients, and they aren't as whole grain as they say they are.
Right.
So that's a tough one.
Yeah, you need to do it, a little homework and go into the book on that a little bit. Like quinoa is a big one, though. That has some really unique characteristics that other grains don't have. I like oatmeal, but it's with steel cut organic oatmeal.
See, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And that it's really
I don't usually eat oatmeal. I will occasionally, like, if I can.
It's a really good source of fiber. It is it's a little high in the carbs, but it's got some good nutrient value.
Not terribly so, though. And
it's not. That's why I eat it, and I don't put any sugar on it.
Wow.
I used to. Oatmeal, you got to put brown sugar on there.
Right.
Cup of oatmeal, cup of sugar.
So yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding. And then this is big. She was really big on berries.
Yeah, especially the darker the berry, the better.
Yep, blueberries, blackberries. Yep.
Yeah, we've really added these to our diet a lot.
And I think the organic are better. You don't have the pesticides or whatever else they may put on that's probably not going to help you.
They have the list, the dirty dozen of things that you definitely want to buy organic, and then you have the clean 15, I believe they call it.
Sure.
Things that you can actually buy.
We got a video on that.
Yeah, we got a video on that.
I don't know how they would look it up. If
Bob and Bragg,
Dirty Dozen. Would probably pull that video up. Yes, very good. And now those should all be eaten every day.
Right.
That's what she's saying. Yep. But now she has a shorter list.
The greens, veggies, grains, and berries.
Right. Yep. And there was a couple more, but those were the big ones that I really thought were good.
Those are pretty safe, because I see those names mentioned again and again.
Book after book.
Yeah, book after book.
Yeah.
Right.
weekly. Fish once a week. She's saying is adequate enough to get enough benefits from the fish for your mind. Which I
Sure.
thought, well, that's nice because then you don't have to buy so much fish.
Well, you got to worry about the mercury.
She said mercury, from what her studies, does not affect the mind in regards to memory from the study she found. It's
interesting.
But it's bad in other ways. She's not saying it's good by any means, but she's saying it's in respect to the memory and the cognitive part, it wasn't so bad. There's other things in the fish that are in the fat of the fish. So try and get the fat off because that's where these other things that are
interesting.
So yeah, that was interesting in that. And again, the smaller the fish, the better.
Right, because it's not sucking in the mercury as much then. It doesn't
Or
other junk.
Other junk that's in the ocean.
They're a little bit like sponges.
Yeah, so if you got a tuna that's been out in the ocean for 5 years absorbing all these chemicals and whatnot versus a little sardine that's only been out there a few months or whatever they are.
Exactly. That's how to think about it.
Exactly right. So also poultry. She said poultry. Again, I'm not gonna.
That could be a little controversial. They definitely are recommending organic and free range.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they've been pumped with hormones and.
Well, there's poultry farms in this area, and I've been to the place that manufactures it, and those chickens do not get out of their little cage. They can't even walk.
They're so big and fat.
Well, and they don't walk inside. They just pump them full of food or hormones to grow them as fast as.
That
30 days, like 33 days at that time when I was working with that. It was 30 years ago. They literally at the factory where they processed them, they'd get out, but they couldn't hardly walk. They didn't have to get away. They wouldn't get away.
You can't tell me that's good.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So you're going to want to be careful about what poultry you eat and probably limit it.
And that brings us into other things to avoid. This is everyone accepts.
Everybody knows this.
Highly processed foods, fast foods, sugary foods.
The sugar, definitely you're going to have an inflammatory effect.
Yep.
And I think they're all discovering that now, that the more you eat anti-inflammatory food, the better it is on your brain, your health, overall,
in general.
Everything.
Exactly. So when you go shopping, don't shop the middle of the rows. Shop the outside of the aisle, your fruits, your meats, vegetables, beer.
I was going to say, is the liquor on the outside?
Hey, she said it was good. She said one a day, one glass of wine. And if you're a man, a larger. Maybe two.
So
I'm thinking
where does 3 come?
Three's on Saturday night.
All right. That's me too. So,
all right.
All right. Thanks for watching.